In this video, I'm going to be sharing the how and also the why you need to be building an email list for your business. If you're relying on social media alone for your audience building, then you are on pretty sticky ground. Hi, welcome if you're new here. I'm Bev. I'm a business coach and a strategist, particularly working with wellness professionals to help them transition from private practice into the corporate world. Now, that said, what I'm going to be covering today is going to be relevant for any business really, whether it's a product or a service-based business, whether it's B2C or B2B. But in the B2B corporate world, I think it's often something that's overlooked, and I honestly cannot tell you how important it is to make sure that you own your leads, and you can't do that purely through social media. So you might be thinking, well, why do I need to focus on my email list? I've got a thriving LinkedIn community or a thriving Facebook or Instagram community. I don't need the extra hassle of remembering to email them, and what would I even talk about in an email? But your email list is really where the relationships are cemented. You can build your audience through social media, but where you really connect on a more personal, deeper level is through email. And I know lots of people are saying, yeah, but email's dead, nobody reads their emails. You might even be saying, do you know what, I never open emails. But believe me, many people do. And actually, if your content is good, then people will read it, because your email list is more than just about sending messages, and it's absolutely more than just about sending salesy, sort of spammy, buy my stuff type messages. It's about creating a professional but relational connection with your audience and your potential clients, because we know that you have to learn to know, like, and trust somebody before we buy from them. And actually the same is true in the corporate space. Sometimes I say to my clients, look, stop inserting the word corporate or stop inserting the word business, and remember that we're actually talking to people, because behind every corporate, behind every business are real people. So your emails need to reflect that and be readable, personable, be enjoyable for the end user to actually want to click and open and read. So here's a few reasons why building an email list is so important. When you have people in an email list, you're more likely to be able to build longer, more long-lasting relationships. So unlike the brief interaction that you might have on social media where they have the opportunity to just swipe past, when you send an email with an engaging subject line that makes people want to open, they're investing their time in opening what you've got to say and reading it. They have to make a decision about whether or not they engage with your content, and that's a big difference between just seeing something fleetingly going past on a LinkedIn or a Facebook feed. When you have an email list set up, you can tailor your content really finely to meet the exact interests of the people within your email list. And we'll talk about segmenting your email list in a little while. But you can get really granular with the content that you share, so it's very specific to what they want to see, more so than you can on social media, where it tends to have to be a little bit more generic. You get to ensure that your message gets where you want it to go. You can track your open rate, you can track your metrics, so you can see who's engaging with your content, even if they don't reply and comment. Most email service providers have good analytics that you can see who's read your emails, who's opened your emails. You can't tell necessarily who's read them. You can see who's opened them, but you can also see who's clicked on any links that you've put in there. You have automations that mean that if they do a certain thing, you can make the email do something different. And the big one for me, the really big one, especially in light of the fact that in the last week or so Instagram and Facebook went down and there was a bit of a panic over it, you own the data in your email list. The algorithms for the social media channels are unpredictable, so you can't always guarantee that what you're putting out there is going to get to the people that you want it to. You know, I've known people who've had their account shut down for seemingly no apparent reason, and they've lost everything. They've lost all of their contacts. Now, if you've got your contacts and your connections in an email list, the likelihood of that going down and you losing them is very, very slim. Plus, as long as you're doing regular backups of your contacts in your email list, you've always got them there to go back to. So I want you to consider these statistics. According to HubSpot, email marketing is 40% more effective than social media at converting sales. That's whopping, isn't it? Nearly half as good again at converting sales. They say email has a click-through rate, or a CTR, of 2.9% compared with just 1.7% for social media. I'm reading off some stats here because I can't remember them. It says email has an open or a view rate of 15 to 25% compared to just 2 to 4% for social media. That's about organic reach, not necessarily paid reach. But the idea that email is dead and people aren't reading their emails doesn't stand up when you look at the statistics. They also say that the estimated ROI, or return on investment, from email is, wait for this, 3,600% versus a meager 180% from social media. Now, the stats are compelling, but even if you ignore the numbers, and I definitely wouldn't suggest that you ignore the numbers, but even if just for the moment we ignore the numbers, you're still left with a list of potential clients that you own. I mean the list, of course, not the clients, but you've got a list that you own. Nobody can take that away from you. And that is incredibly valuable. So I'd love to know, if you've not started an email list, what's stopping you? Let me know in the comments, because I think it's a really important part of your business. It's certainly the thing that I press home in my working with corporates programs. And you know, starting with an email list might seem a bit daunting, but it really is simpler than you think. First of all, you're going to need an email marketing platform or an email service provider, something that can send out bulk emails and is generally set up to make sure that you're compliant with things like GDPR and privacy rules and things. So platforms like MailerLite, ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, ConvertKit, there are loads and loads out on the market. Most of them are really user-friendly. They're very intuitive in terms of how you set up and send your emails. Many of them are set up and designed so they have templates to help you really design fancy looking, smart looking emails. Personally, I just send mine in the same way as I would send anything from my Outlook. It's normally just plain text, maybe with a couple of images occasionally if they're going to add value to what it is I'm talking about. But I don't normally go for all the fancy newsletter templates, but most of these platforms have some sort of template that you can use if that's what you want to do. Now, lots of them will have things like simple landing page builders so that you can actually link a sales page or a registration page or an opt-in page to your email list. They've got form builders where you can build out a little form for people to put their email address and their name and any other details that you need in there, although my advice would be ask for the bare minimum that you need. Generally speaking, that's just their email address. I tend to ask for email and first name because I like to personalise my emails as they go out, but really the less friction you can create for the person that you want to opt into your email list, the better. So they're all busy people. Ask for the bare minimum. You don't need to know their address, their telephone number, their shoe size. Generally, you don't need that. Now, I've tried a few over the years. I started with MailChimp and very quickly moved to ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign was fantastic, but it was probably more really than I needed. It was quite expensive for what I needed, and I eventually switched back to MailerLite. I really like MailerLite. It's easy to use, it's free for the first 1,000 subscribers, and in the corporate world in particular, you're probably not going to need that many subscribers. And actually, even if you have to pay when your subscriber list goes up, when we consider that the return on investment, as HubSpot mentioned earlier, is so high, chances are it's going to pay for itself by the time you get that many anyway. What else do I like about MailerLite? Well, I like the fact that it's got a very easy to use landing page builder, form builder. There are lots of templates that you can use for building landing pages. You can do quizzes in there. It's fully compliant with GDPR and those privacy rules. So I know that when I'm sending out from MailerLite, it's going to be safe, and I can generally optimize it to make sure that my deliverability is good. Certain firewalls can stop emails going through if they come from a email service provider, but you can do things about that. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but I like MailerLite, but there are lots out there. Most of them offer a free trial, so it's worth having a little play around and seeing which one suits you best. I know lots of people really swear by ConvertKit, but I've not used it. Next up, you're going to need something to offer your leads so that you can entice them to want to give you their very valuable email address. This is where you need something called a lead magnet. Now, think of a lead magnet just like a normal magnet. It's a tool to attract the thing you want to you. And in this case, it's going to be prospects or leads or potential clients. So your lead magnet, you might also have heard it called a freebie or a giveaway or a free download or a free PDF, is something that your ideal client will find immensely valuable. Doesn't cost you much, if anything, ideally nothing to produce, and it's generally something that they're happy to exchange their email address for. If we think in this case as of the email address as being currency, it's like they're spending their email address to get your lead magnet, and it's an exchange of value. You're giving them something valuable so they can benefit from it, and they're giving you their email address as payment. Now, lead magnets can be pretty much anything where an exchange of value takes place. So things such as a well-crafted ebook or an insightful webinar, a white paper, or an easy-to-use toolkit. I'm thinking corporate now. Think about things that are going to make your corporate client's life a little bit easier, but the same applies if it's not a corporate business that you've got. Just think about something that will make your clients or potential clients' life easier. So it could be a checklist or a guide or a template of some sort. One of my favourite types of lead magnet is a live webinar. I use live webinars as lead magnets, especially when I'm launching a new service or a new product. It's a great way for people to get to see me, and then also I can record that training, that webinar, and I can use that as a lead magnet in the future. Once you've got your lead magnet, you want to connect it to a email that goes out as soon as they opt in. Now, this might sound a bit daunting, but I promise you it's not, and there's loads and loads of videos on YouTube teaching you how to do this. But basically, you want everything to be as automated as possible. So ideally, you want your freebie to be delivered either on the thank you page, which is the page that's shown once somebody has submitted their email address. It's just basically a thank you, or a page that says thank you for signing up or for downloading the thing. And this is an opportunity, if you want to put a link to the download there and then. Now, personally, I don't do this. I always send the freebie out in the very first email that I send. I want them to go to their inbox and get into the habit of going and reading my emails. I don't want them to just be able to download it there and then, but you can do it either way. Now, this might sound daunting, but please don't think it is. Basically, what you're going to do is set up a sequence of emails that are triggered when somebody opts in with their email address. The first one will send out the lead magnet that you've created, and then you can set up an automated sequence of emails that basically continue to help you to build a relationship with that person so they can get to know you better. Normally you'll add some additional value in there, maybe tell a little bit more of your story and what you do. Generally, I have probably 5 or 6 emails that go out in a sequence after somebody signs up for a lead magnet, and then they automatically transfer onto my main or segmented lists so that they go onto my weekly Refuel Newsletter, which incidentally, if you want to get on there, just go down to the description below and you can sign up, send out an email pretty much every week with little nuggets and gems in there, and you'll see how it's done. I'm getting quite cold out here. Let's crack on. So now you've got your lead magnet created and it's all set up, ready to deliver. Let's talk about strategy. How are you going to use this to actually grow your email list? Well, you're going to want to basically leverage every touch point that you can. So feature your lead magnet prominently on your website. Talk about it in your social media. Don't forget to mention it during live or online networking events. Make it very easy for people to know about it and sign up for it. If you're doing a live event, you might want to create a QR code that links directly to the opt-in page and have that displayed. If you're doing any kind of maybe a trade show or you're exhibiting somewhere, or even just, at a general networking, just have it on a card. You could even have your QR code printed onto the back of your business card if you're still using those. But really, you want to get it out there as much as you can. Maybe even put a QR code or the link to the opt-in page on your signature block, on your Outlook or your Google Gmail or whatever it is you use as your normal sort of everyday email service. Stick it on your signature block so that people can easily get access to it. So what are you going to do with all these people there that are on your list? Well, as I said before, you really need to engage with people. So don't just get people to opt in, give them a lead magnet and then crickets. Nobody ever hears another thing from you. You've got to kind of, well, they call it nurturing your audience, but what does that even mean? Well, it just means staying in regular contact. So they say consistency is king, and it really is, or queen. Consistency is the most important thing. Regular emails keep you at the forefront of your potential client's mind. So set up a system for consistently emailing your list. We've talked about the automated sequence, the nurture sequence, once they've downloaded the lead magnet, but make sure that you're emailing regularly and consistently. There's no point in sending out one email every 4 or 5 months, and definitely don't start it with, "Oh, sorry, you've not heard from me for so long." People don't really remember or care, which is why you need to be consistent, frequent, and make sure that you're keeping in contact regularly. Try and step into your lead's shoes. So think about what you're emailing from the recipient's point of view. You want to add value to them. So don't make it all about you. Don't make it all about what you're selling, what you're doing. By all means, add some of that in, of course, but try and make it valuable from the end user's point of view. You want to not necessarily be adding teaching value every time you email, but it has to have value for the end user or the recipient. So it needs to be educational, informational, entertaining. It could be inspirational in some way. But a lot of my emails are just me chatting. It's like I'm talking to a friend. I would also say, what's the ideal length? Well, there isn't really an ideal length for an email, but just think about the recipient again. If they're very, very busy, you might want to keep it really short and sweet, just a tip or two at a time. I send out my weekly Refuel email, and quite honestly, it's just me chatting as if I was talking to you and you were in the room. It's normally a bit of a story, something that will have happened that week, something that I've read or listened to or been in conversation about, something I've done, something whatever it is. I can generally pick up something in my week that I can turn into an email, and it's very conversational. Again, going back to this idea of being real and treating, even if it's a corporate or a business contact, still keep it real, still be human, I guess. Relevant rules. So try and stay abreast of your industry trends and tailor your content to what's going on. So you might want to give some sort of commentary on any news articles or news reports that you've read, anything that you've read on social media that's piqued your interest. You can kind of use this as an opportunity to reinforce your credibility, but also it gives you great talking points. It gives you good content for your emails. Finally, personalization really makes perfect. So the beauty with email service providers such as MailerLite is that you can segment your list. Now what that really means is just breaking it down into more targeted lists so that you can be a little bit more targeted in your messaging. So if you don't have just one target market, you can separate your list up into segments so that you're only sending out relevant content to each. Now, to be honest, in the beginning, you really don't need to worry too much about this. For a long time, I had one list and I sent the same thing out to everybody in that list, and that worked absolutely fine. But as you get more advanced, as you get more people on your list, as you realize that their needs might be all slightly different, it's very easy to then segment your list and make personalization more relevant. My apologies if this camera's wobbling a little bit. It's quite cold out here and I've got to bring my tripod, so I'm holding the camera. Something else to think about when you're sending your emails: make them personal. Speak as if you were speaking to one person. It doesn't matter whether you've got one person on your list or 5,000 people on your list. Write your email as if you're speaking to just that one person. So don't open it, hello everyone. Open it, hello, insert first name. And actually most email providers will let you do that automatically, so that's why I tend to ask for name and email address. You can usually put a variable into the email for name, surname and various different things. I always use the variable of first name, so it automatically populates the email with that person's name. You want that person to feel like they're the only person you're writing to. Now you might know that you're writing that same email to hundreds or thousands of people, but they don't need to know that. They need to feel like you're talking directly to them. And I love to use the power of storytelling. As I said earlier, you can normally find something that you've seen or heard or read in the week that you can make a story out of. And you really want to try and make your email little anecdotes, maybe something entertaining, something interesting. And I have actually 4 questions that I tend to ask myself every week that help me to create my content. So I'll ask myself, what have I seen this week? What have I heard this week? What have I experienced this week? And what have I read? And generally one or more of those 4 questions will be enough to give me the content that I need to write my email. And I would also see if you can try and find, like a parable, like the moral of the story is. So generally speaking, I can bring whatever it is I've seen or heard that week, and I can create an email that brings it back to being relevant to my topic. It takes a little bit of thought, but generally speaking, the more you kind of open your mind, the easier it is to take that topic and weave it back to something more relevant to your topic and your audience. I promise you, give it a go, it works. Okay, so that's it. That's a wrap on why I think your email list is absolutely the golden ticket to your business growth. It really is all about building connections, providing value, not necessarily educating all of the time, but providing value through your content, and then being seen as a trusted authority, so that when the time is right and they are ready to buy, you're the person in their mind that they know they want to buy from, because you've built that relationship. So hey, if you've got value from this video, I'd be grateful if you'd hit the like button and maybe leave a comment below. Let me know, as I say, what stopped you from starting your email list. And if you're still on the fence about whether or not you want to break into the corporate market, then I've got something very, very special launching in just a couple of months. I'm taking my signature Working with Corporates 12-week program, which has been incredibly successful, and I'm transitioning it into what I'm calling a Membermind. And what the heck is a Membermind? Well, it's a kind of hybrid membership. So it's a subscription membership where you'll get value every single month, combined with the high touch coaching that you would get in a mastermind, but at a fraction of the cost. Masterminds are amazing. I'm in one right now, and my mastermind is brilliant for holding me to account, but it's pricey. And I know when we're first getting started in our business, sometimes we can't afford to invest in expensive masterminds. I'm also in lots of memberships, but many of those memberships tend to be quite passive. I get lots of information, but it doesn't necessarily make me take action in the same way that my mastermind does. So the Membermind is kind of a combination of the two, and it's built on 4 pillars. Content, first and foremost. So yes, there's learning in there. Yes, there's lessons. Yes, there are pathways that you can follow, just exactly the same as I delivered and trained in my Working with Corporates program, that really get you knowledgeable about how to run your business. The second pillar is coaching, and this is the bit that is so important. The coaching element, we have group coaching sessions on the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of every month, where I go live and I coach my group. And these sessions are so valuable, because this is where the needle moves. It's in that coaching that we talk about mindset, we talk about strategy, we talk about tactics, we talk about implementation. It's moving you out of the education and into implementation. Then the third pillar is community, which I think is so important. Community is everything. Community is the bit that gives you that self-belief and that cheer when you need it, the pat on the back when you share your wins, the encouragement you need when you're feeling a bit flat. We all get it in business, so having that community built in is so important. And then the fourth pillar is collaboration, and I'll be collaborating with experts in areas that I'm not an expert in business, to come in and run masterclasses, as well as the collaboration that will happen naturally between members of the community. There's a huge scope in the wellness space for collaboration. We can't always be experts in all subjects, and finding connections and collaborations that work well together can really enhance your corporate offer. So if you'd like to know more of that, we launch at the end of April, 29th of April. We open the doors to the Membermind, but you can get on the wait list, and by doing so, it means you'll get first notification and first notification for early bird pricing. So if you're interested in getting on the waiting list and finding out when it goes live, I've put a link into the description below. Feel free to click on that and we'll keep you informed when it opens. That's it for now. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.